I'm Effie, and apparently I've got something pink on my arm. So this is me just getting back into the groove of making videos, but we are a little over halfway through the year and I haven't done the mid-year freakout tag, and I love doing this. I think this is my third year doing this, so let's just crack on. I have based my questions on the ones that Kayla from Books and Lala uses, and let's just get cracking. So the first question is, how is your reading year going? And kind of pants, kind of good. Like, I've read a lot of books, but I haven't read the books I want to be reading, if that makes sense. Like, it's not as if anyone's forcing books into my hands, but I look around my library and I look at all the books that are still unread, and there's so many I want to read and I haven't. And that also reflects the fact that whilst I've read a lot of books, they haven't been books that I own, because, you know, I'll use Kindle Unlimited, I'll use the local library, I'll use Scribd, and none of that is reducing my unread pile. But I'm optimistic, you know. I have big plans. Well, I have plans for my reading for the rest of the year. We'll see how everything pans out, but I'm hyped. The next question is best book you've read so far this year. And I forced myself to pick one book, but I think I may actually do a video just dedicated to the best books that I've read so far this year, because I had a really hard time pinning this down, and I've ended up going for On the Savage Side by Tiffany McDaniel because it broke me in all the best ways. It is a contemporary mystery thriller lit fic based on the Chillicothe Six. It's done in a really respectful, beautiful way. You really connect with these characters and you feel the pain that they're going through. And I highly, highly recommend, but also it is not a light read, so please bear that in mind. For best sequel you've read so far this year, this was one of the questions. I could not narrow it down to just one. So we've got Lost in the Moment and Found by Seanan Maguire. Every time a new Wayward Children book comes out, it's my new favourite, and this one hit really close to home with themes of lost childhood. So yeah, I adored it. And then Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I didn't expect a lot of the things that happened in it, and they were really pleasant surprises. So it was overall a really good time, and I think what kind of brought it up in my estimations was I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. Favourite reread of the year? I have had a number of rereads, but it's gonna have to be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. Something about Schwab's writing speaks to my soul, and the themes speak to my soul, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed rereading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I forgot to grab a copy to hold up, but it is on that shelf, I think. In fact, I think I've got loads. Let me see if I can show you all of my Schwabs. There we go. It's practically a Schwab shelf. So that's all Addie LaRue. We've got one there as well. I think that's all my Addie LaRue's. I feel like I'm missing one. But we've also got Dark Shade of Magic, some Gallant. There is more Schwab elsewhere, but yeah, that was a little detour. Sorry about that. apparently I just wanted to show you my shelves. The genre that I've been reading most this year is romance, because my brain has just needed the candy. So I've been reading a lot of romance. Whether I've been loving that genre most, I don't know, but it has provided me with a lot of mental candy. A new release that I haven't read yet but want to is Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. This one really appeals to me because I believe it has vampires and kitsune, which are probably, for my most anticipated release of the second half of the year. There are a number of books that I'm looking forward to coming out in the second half of the year, but I mean, it's obviously going to be The Fragile Threads of Power by V. Schwab. Like, if I were to give any other answer, it would just be a straight up lie. Like, I am desperate to read The Fragile Threads of Power. Like, I have read every one of V. Schwab's books now. I've read the short stories from the collections. Like, there may be stuff I've missed, but like, I've read Death Knell, A Royal Affair. I can't remember what the essay in Don't Call Me Crazy is. Also, I've read First Kill, like, plus all the books. I'm rambling, but like, I need this book. I need this book yesterday, but instead I'm going to have 2 months. 80 days, I think. I'm filming this, funny enough, on V. Schwab's birthday. I only know that because the newsletter came out this morning and it said that it was their birthday. But yeah, I think it's 80 days, it said in the newsletter, which is so exciting. Biggest disappointment is Blow Part 2 by November Sweets. I really, really, really loved Blow Part 1, but it felt like a lot of tension was created at the end of Part 1, and then Part 2 immediately dissipated all of the tension, which was really frustrating. And then I think because the tension was dissipated but the conflict wasn't resolved, it was hard to get into the rest of the story because I was kind of waiting for them to resolve the conflict, and it wasn't as much in the forefront as I think it should have been. Like, it's a fine enough story, but it was such a disappointment considering how much I enjoyed Part 1. Biggest surprise? 100%. A Dirty Business by Tijan? I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It is a mafia romance between a parole officer and the heir to a mafia family. I'm not sure the proper term. It was my first time reading a mafia romance, and I have to say, I did not expect to vibe with mafia romances, and especially the whole parole officer. Like, it's too police adjacent for me, but actually I really enjoyed it. So that was like Part 1 of the surprise, and then Part 2 was the ending. Oh, the ending, especially because the epilogue really made you think the story was going in a very different direction. For new favourite author, I feel like I haven't really read enough to kind of conclusively say. So I think John Mars is like 100% my favourite thriller author, and that's been confirmed by reading all of Mars's back catalogue, which I promise that video is coming. It's just sitting on my hard drive needing to be edited, but I promise it will come, and hopefully soon. Cheeky plug to subscribe if you want to see that, because it is coming. I spent months reading John Mars's work, so I am not throwing that one away. But I had read John Mars before this year. I mean, I started the John Mars blog last year. But I think this year was the year that it was solidified in my mind that John Mars is my favourite thriller writer. And then another author that I'd read from in the past, but now I've read like one more book from them, and I think it's likely they could be a new favourite for me, and it is Charlotte Amelia Poe. They just write so beautifully, and I mean, it makes me really sad that this book is not published. It needs to be published, and I'm hoping, like, I'm seeing whispers on the author's Instagram that things might be happening. I know that they've been repped with an agency that like works with film, so maybe there'll be like a film version of this, but this story was so good. It had some of my favourite quotes from, just absolutely amazing. So I think Poe could be one of my favourite authors, but I've got I still need to read Ghost Towns and The Language of Dead Flowers to really solidify if that's the case or not. The next question is my newest favourite character, and there's been some really, really great characters in the first half of the year, but in the end, I think I'm going to have to go for August Flynn from the Monsters of Verity duology. I just really, really enjoyed his vibe. I really enjoyed the way that he kind of struggles with a desire to be human. Also, the violin playing, like, it speaks to my soul. I've already said that about Schwab's work, haven't I? But yeah, definitely new favourite character is August Flynn, although I did really appreciate Sorrow. I didn't realise there'd already been a character out with the binary in Schwab's work, and it made me really happy to discover that. And that feeds into the next question, which is a book that made you cry. And this book had me absolutely, no holds bar, sobbing my heart out. Like, I loved it. I love books that make me cry. I love books that are dark. But yeah, this had me absolutely weeping. For a book that made you happy, honestly, I don't read that much happy stuff. I am a dark person, apparently. But I think the closest to that would be Dirty Letters by Penelope Ward and V. Keeland. I think what made me happy about it was that there was a character who struggled to go outside, struggled to be in enclosed spaces, like not claustrophobic as in like situations where she felt like she couldn't escape. Did I say she was anxious? Yeah, she has anxiety. And everything about that representation just felt so good. Like, yeah, I felt her. I felt her so much. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And I had a hard time picking one, but in the end, I'm going to go for The Grief Nurse, which already that cover's quite snazzy. But then you look under the cover and the foiling is so beautiful, and it's also on the back. And just to add to it all, it is signed and dedicated. Not that it says it, and it's just like a little thing that I only know, but this was the author's first time signing one of her books. So that just makes it all the more special for me. The next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And pretty much I just want to read as much as possible, but I do have a number of books that I put on a list to self-destruct at the end of the year. So I haven't gone through many of the books on that list yet, so I would like to, well, read them all before the end of the year, but I guess we will just see how that pans out. I'm going to quickly run through what those books are. I'm not going to describe or anything, but I'm just going to say what they are. So please put in the comments if any of these books you think I should prioritize, or if any of them you think I should just skip. Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. Little Woodford by Catherine Jones. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. Through Her Eyes by Sophie Fay. Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. Letters to the Lost by Bridget Camarera. And How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang. The last two questions relate more to community and my channel. The next question is favourite video or post you've done so far this year. I have been so lacking in doing content this year, but I think of the very few things that I have produced this year, my favourite is probably the reel/shorts, because I cross-posted it, of quotes from On the Savage Side, basically being like persuading you to read this book based on my favourite quotes. It was quite fun to put together, and they are some of my favourite quotes from the book. And the final question is favourite book community members. I have to say, I have not only been out of the loop with my own content, I haven't really been following much of other people's content either. So I'm just going to say Spoops, even though I know they're no longer doing YouTube, but their Instagram is still very active. And also my best friend Shannon, whose YouTube channel is Head in the Books. And that is all of the questions for today. I look forward to being back soon, hopefully. But until next time, love you. Bye.